Congratulations, Deadspin. Alert the Pulitzer Academy, LeBatard. You're better than a 9-year-old fan of the Kansas City Chiefs. At least that's what you would have us believe. At least that's the chest pounding you embarked upon earlier this week. At least that's what you tell yourself with your self-affirmations in the mirror. At least that's what you published and projected to nationwide audiences starting on Monday. Deadspin writer Karan J. Phillips published an article at the Zombie of Deadspin. It's long since lost any sort of cultural relevance. It lost all of its, I believe, corporate funding. It lost all of its supposedly well-respected writers, although I never thought much of any of even the most esteemed writers at Deadspin. But what you're now looking at is some zombie version of Deadspin with some dollar store discount version of relevance of the one-time writers with men like Karan J. Phillips. Karan J. Phillips actually looks like someone who is trying their damnedest to get your attention by writing the most outlandish and ridiculous things on race. He has been someone who literally would say the game of pool like Martin in the Eddie Murphy movie. What's the name of the movie? You know, look at. He has the mushroom belt. He's got the mushroom liner. He's got the mushroom belt. You got to coordinate. Boomerang. He's like Martin Lawrence's character in Boomerang, explaining that the game of pool is actually racist. See, the point of the game is for the white ball to knock all of the colored balls off of the table and the felt green signifying the earth. And the game ends, it culminates with the white ball taking out the black ball. That was comedy once upon a time in the early 90s for Boomerang. It's the material for a nomination to the Pulitzer in 2023 for Karan J. Phillips of Deadspin. He published on Monday the following headline: the NFL needs to speak out against the Kansas City Chiefs fan in blackface native headdress. Subhead: they're doubling up on racism. Are you going to say anything, Roger Goodell? There was a picture of a young boy wearing a cartoonish caricature of an American Indian headdress and his face painted black. He's wearing a Travis Kelce jersey, number 87, and the picture is taken in profile from the side. Phillips goes on to explain how this is horrific examples of racism being embraced and tolerated by the NFL, and he has gone out of his way to make sure that you know he is someone capable of great virtue by pointing out others' vice. What Phillips doesn't point out to you is that the other half of that young boy's face is painted red. He's not in blackface. He's in black and red face because he's a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's got team colors on his face. It's blatant manipulation of this young man's situation. It's blatant manipulation of the media. Importantly, it's blatant manipulation or attempted blatant manipulation of your mind to make you believe something that is not true. In short, when Donald Trump says to you that the media is the enemy of the people, as he said infamously, it was true. When you meet someone like me who is in the media, we deserve your skepticism. We deserve your cynicism until we can earn your trust. This industry has a lower approval rating than attorneys. This industry has earned its low position, its low reputation in society. Why? Because of, well, men like Dan LeBatard, who used to have a radio show at ESPN. LeBatard went on to explain, along with his cast of self-important characters, that the outrage, the real outrage here, is the outrage to the outrage. They went on to say in their very condescending fashion, because condescension among that crew within the former ESPN circuit seems to be a currency, They think smart is all there is in the world. They know nothing of wisdom. They know nothing of virtue, and they know nothing of grace. But they certainly think highly of themselves and their own intelligence. They are busy explaining you condescendingly that the outrage to the outrage has entered its Vegas residency stage of our cultural careers. The whole point is about the right upset at the outrage from Deadspin, and that the right has worn out its welcome on being outraged by the outrage. It's horrifically twisted logic, and it's absurd upon its face. They're right. The culture war is tired. The sports culture war has entered its Vegas residency stage. But that is about Karan Phillips. It's about Deadspin. And it's about the Dan LeBatard show. We're just tired of hearing you inject politics into every aspect of sports. And if we point out that we're tired of it or that it's absurd, that's not the worn out phase of this conversation in our culture. The worn out phase of this conversation in our culture is your shtick. It's that we don't get the show. They went in then to explain, did Dan LeBatard, that fine, whatever, it's not blackface. It's overlooking the real racism in this whole thing. And that he's got black and red face, and he's wearing a headdress. And that the Chiefs in general are racist. This is so, well, let me just take you up on your terms, tired. And it's honestly so stupid. The existence of Native Americans is not offensive. I personally think, as someone who's quite a fan of American history and the history of American Indians, be happy to have an extended conversation with you about, I don't know, the Lakota or Quanah-Parker or Pettinacona or any of the famous American Indian wars or their way of life or their culture. Happy to have an extended conversation. I love it. I've read deeply about it. And because of that, in part, I know that not every reference to American Indians is offensive. I don't think that the Buffalo Nickel needs to be erased from our history. I don't think the image as drawn by a Blackfoot Indian in Montana that was the emblem of the Washington Redskins is offensive. In fact, I think the opposite. I think it's an honorific. I think it's proud. I think it should remain a part of the history of America. So what is it exactly that's offensive about the existence of the Kansas City Chiefs? The fact that they are a mascot? Well, what about the Cowboys? Is that offensive to ranching and Western heritage? Is that offensive to the men that still work in that industry? If you find yourself somehow a moniker of a football team, do the men working steel mills in Pittsburgh, are they missing out on their chance for grievance and victim and the offended industry? The Chiefs are noble. Every image they have of the American Indian is flattering, and they should not be erased from history. That headdress, it's ceremonial, and it's not common to every Indian tribe. And there's nothing about it, the entire presentation by this boy, that is racist. Now let's get to a couple of obvious quick points before we get to the big revelation. If you feel the need, Deadspin or LeBatard, to explain the racism of a 9-year-old, to explain your virtuousness over a 9-year-old, you've literally lowered the bar for yourself that it could not be a smaller leap. Congratulations on your 2-inch vert. You just cleared a huge hurdle. You're better than a 9-year-old. This has gone from criticizing 14-year-old Josh Allen to 18-year-old, 21-year-old Kyler Murray when he, win the Heisman, get drafted in the first round, pour through someone's tweets when they were a teenager, find something they said that was, your 50-year-old version of yourself knows better than, and explain to everyone how society is poisoned. You now reduce the bar to a 9-year-old. A 9-year-old. And look, I want to laugh and I want to make fun of you because I think that you are little small people to stand on the shoulders of 9-year-olds to make yourself look taller. You're small people. You walk around in the real world doing that? Oh, son, that's racist. Oh, son, that's offensive. That's who you are in this world. Not someone of grace, not someone of education. You're not trying to help the 9-year-old. He doesn't need your help, by the way. We'll get to that more in just a moment. But you are someone that needs to feel better about themselves by finding the faults in a 9-year-old. How could it get smaller? And I want to laugh, but I also think it's incredibly gross. And I think Karan Phillips should probably be thrown in jail. I think he will be sued. He'll be sued. I hope he's sued. I hope Deadspin is sued from its zombie. I hope somebody puts the stake through the temple of the zombie version of Deadspin. Covington kids sued CNN and the New York Times, settled for big figures for what they did. Again, just criminally libelous to the kids of Covington. And this kid's not a public figure. No actual malice, no recklessness required. This is just simple libel. This is defamation. Sue what's left of the zombie version of Deadspin. But let's get to the final reveal, the most fun part for all of these people that are so much better than a 9-year-old. The 9-year-old is a Native American. He and his family are of the Chumash tribe. So we've got, I guess, we've arrived at the inevitable. We've arrived at the inevitable and absurd conclusion. It was the same way with Washington Redskins, most popular team on American Indian reservations. Explaining to people why they should be offended by the things, not just that other people do, but that they themselves do. You, American Indian, dressed up in American Indian headdress and team colors, you are racist. Congratulations, Deadspin. Where do you go for your Pulitzer?